Recently, I have been what some scientists call deeply mentally unwell, and Bungie's new game Marathon is partially responsible. To paint a picture, my psychological well-being is Minas Tirith, the orcs are reality, and Grand is their marathon, smashing through my gay tussy. If you've been on the internet at all in the last month, I'm sure you've seen the game has justifiably been getting cooked like a roast chicken by basically everybody alive. But in the sea of redundant, low IQ rage bait videos, none of them have really pinpointed the big problem with Marathon. They keep pointing out the symptoms, but not the disease. You see, Marathon is a game that does not believe in the future. Everything about it is evidence that our ability to perceive a future has slowly been canceled. It's gone. It's over. Bye-bye.
Bye, have a beautiful time.
But Noah, you say in exasperation, what the fuck is that drink? I call it the family meeting, when a disgruntled wine mom and her ignored child are forced to come together over a mutual tragedy. Oh, the memories. Also, you say, what the fuck do you mean doesn't believe in the future? It's literally in the year of the future. There is a spaceship in an asteroid. We are on literal other planet in the future time. Think, you cute idiot. The future is not a direction in time. It is a concept. It is a mass cultural hallucination, like femboys, money, and happiness. The three genders. The future should be a communal vision to take us into the present full of novelty, progress, and hope. But instead of new utopian ideals, our society seems stuck recycling the aesthetics, ideas, and lost dreams of the past in worse, shittier ways. This shift occurred so slowly over time we barely noticed. Just like my concerning time investment into Wuthering Waves, I am mentally unwell. Modern life often feels like an endless present, haunted by the futures we once believed in but no longer expect. And the new futures, the ones we do expect, we have become so numb to their horror because they feel so completely unstoppable. So how do we cope? We live service those bitches and put in motherfucking skins in our battle pass, baby, let's fucking go. Every single piece of this new Marathon, from its tonally dissonant marketing to its boring, gutted premise to the sleep-inducing gameplay loop to the lack of proximity chat, feels like it was made in the lab to give me a panic attack about the state of humanity. Its very essence seems defined by telling you, the idiot player, to turn your brain on autopilot and walk off the proverbial cliff, and boldly says, hey, you know this techno-capitalist dystopia where you abandon your flesh to be forever stuck in a loop of debt and violence while your mind slowly deteriorates performing pointless tasks for openly dishonest corporations is just what's gonna happen. And we here at Bungie have really no interest in imagining anything different, so we're just gonna monetize it, you dumb slut. I'm sure some people are thinking, you just don't understand the premise. You sound like an old man whining about nostalgia. You're just manically overthinking another milquetoast live service fiasco and should just have a glass of water and I should take my meds, but no. You don't see what I see. You don't need water when you have drank of the well of knowledge. You do not need medicine when you understand that insight is the elixir of life. You do not understand that this void we have created deep inside our society. That's a little embarrassing. But seriously, no prox chat? Shit, wait. Before I can really explain the prox chat bad thing, I need to talk about why the premise of you being a corporate slave is a hot dog water, actually. Sorry. I have a deep fondness in my heart for the original Marathon games, as well as people who hit the subscribe button. They were legitimately ahead of their time, dealing with immense interchronological narrative structures about the dangers of colonialism and expansionism, AI and consciousness, along with the coolest motherfucking aliens, all while being a game that looks like this, when its biggest competitor at the time's story was Shoot Demon. Very cool. I'm serious, this is just what some of the timelines look like. Bungie was not fucking around back in the 90s. Also, trans homies out there, if you haven't picked a new name yet, Working Cackenter is a solid gender-neutral choice. Just saying. All of this to say, when Bungie dug up Marathon's corpse and chose to defile the innovative single-player trilogy into a half-baked, corporate dystopian live service extraction shooter where you're endlessly indebted to shitty manipulative corporations responsible for the OG game's reckless and failed expansionism, I was disappointed, but not surprised.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
As a lover of science fiction, I have watched the genre transition throughout time from one of cautious optimism to blinding despair to complete dog shit, and the dystopian vision of the future has become uncomfortably commonplace, not just in science fiction, but broader culture in general. It really just seems like we've become so numb to the idea of a dystopian future built on the corpses of utopias we failed to achieve that we've somehow forgotten that, like, that's bad. It's become so normalized and gutted in its presentation, and the presence in media is so dense that people like Bungie want you to pay them money to have power fantasies about it.
Marathon is a team-based extraction shooter set around the mysterious and cutthroat world of Tau Ceti 4. You'll face rival runners in zones of up to 18 players, countless security forces, and otherworldly threats. To scavenge the remains of a lost colony for glory and fortune.
What fame and fortune? The fame and fortune of endlessly clicking little boxes in their shitty menu system? Of picking up a bunch of garbage? Of being eternally indebted to a corporation that is actively lying to keep you enslaved? I can't emphasize this enough. Bungie sure as hell wants this to be your fantasy because they keep fucking saying it in the interview every 10 seconds.
We've been developing these gameplay fantasies, different but clear and distinct fantasies.
Lucas's are soldier kind of fantasy, or soldier kit.
The first thing we wanted to make sure was their visual fantasy reflected the gameplay fantasy with a similar fantasy.
We want to make sure it's approachable. We like nail those fantasies.
It actually feels like they have a producer standing in the back with a gun getting ready to fire if they don't say fantasy often enough. Kyle Bozeman is the only other person I've seen point this out and to use his poetic articulation.
And so I feel like Alberto Mielgo kind of duped Bungie. He said, "You want a film? I'll make you a film. Here it is." I think the whole idea for your game is incredibly sad. It's like, welcome to Bummer World.
And to be clear for the annoying people in the comments, dystopian setting is not default bad and lame when it actually feels like there is real critique of something occurring. Some of the most iconic pieces of media ever are dystopian in nature. But this shit?
Scavenge the remains of a lost colony for glory and fortune.
This don't sound like no critique, brother. Also, I took the fantasy montage from Kyle Bozeman's video because I was too lazy to cut it up myself from the big interview that they made. Kyle, please don't hate me, I love you. We seem to live in a society where people take harrowing representations of a future others are warning us to avoid and using it as a backdrop to sell microtransactions. We're also using them as names for company, by the way. Did you know that Meta was named after the anarcho-capitalist warning sign Snow Crash? I wish I was lying, but Mark Zuckerberg sucks real bad. The only way we get to this point of intense desensitization is if there is so much information and emotion saturating our brains every waking moment of our lives that we become numb enough through constant overstimulation. I mean, imagine if the whole of our cultural and economic system we live in has been transformed to intentionally remove our ability to generate and interpret substantial meaning because the speed and efficiency of communicating that meaning is way more important than its accuracy or weight. Hey, wait a minute. I scroll through atrocities every day on Reddit and I barely feel anything. That doesn't sound particularly good. How can people be expected to imagine a better future when you are so numb to the violence of the present? I think a lot of people do realize this on some level, but what they don't realize is the true scope and its effect. And as a manic, unmedicated, slightly drunk bisexual on the internet, it is my job to explain that to you. Riddle me this, Batman. What's the most efficient way to deaden your empathy, exhaust your mind, and kill your attention? This.
Okay, so it was George Soros' money that went to...
Actually, though, is to put your smooth little brain in a system with so much cognitive load that it's impossible to keep up. But it can't stop either. Some Italian guy with a name who really wants me to make a D's nuts joke wrote the book called After the Future, which we're reading on my Patreon, and members of the channel in my cool book club, you should join. It's very cool, thank you. In this book, he calls this type of system, this type of attention economy, semio-capitalism. Whoa, 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 I know I just said a scary word with an even scarier word inside of it, but stay with me, okay? You can do this. Just last week, you asked for extra sauce at the Burger King drive-thru and you only cried a little bit, okay? You're strong. Semiotics, where the semio comes from, is the study of symbols and signs and how they're used and interpreted, so we can create collective understanding and communication. It's like how we can both look at this picture of the dog and see the word dog and go, dog. And capitalism is McDonald's, iPhone, wealth gap, no healthcare, techno-feudalism. Obvious. Private ownership of the means of production that creates physical goods for profit, dictated by market forces. Something, 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 Karl Marx. Slap those two bad boys together and you get semio-capitalism. Capitalism where words, images, information, and emotions, not physical goods, is where all the profit is. Think about it, like, why have so many of these big tech companies operated at a loss for years? In fact, some even still are, and yet they're still going. No one really cares about the cash or the materials. It's about being able to plug your brain into their shit. Something, something, Matrix conspiracy. There, you happy? So what's the best way to have this system work? Well, we just make a giant global network where a distorted version of human interconnectivity is created to be one big assembly line that we can constantly work off of. Imagine with me now, would you, the femboy and cat ears watching this, be exhausted having to work physical labor 24 hours a day? Some people would love to work at the Bad Dragon factory 24/7, but those people are aberrant, so I'm not counting them. You'd probably want to fucking die, right? Now, imagine if you had to perform cognitive labor 24/7, all the time. Congratulations on realizing why you're always so tired, sad, and burned out, by the way. Even emotions are a form of labor in this system. We are expected to perform emotionally in specific ways at our stupid little jobs. Shout out to all my fellow autism maskers out there. It's fucking rough. As we curate and regulate our identities online, as we deal with our relationship with social media, as we manage group dynamics we're part of, and it's all just exhausting. Because so many of the emotional bonds in this system we're expected to have are inherently hollow and performative because they're in a system that profits off of you being a tired little bitch. Our attention and emotional energy are directly tied to productivity and value, and you feel tired and anxious and isolated and desensitized and burned out all the time because living in an economy and culture that relies on colonizing language, attention, emotion, and time is bad. This absolute shift in how we perceive and create value has removed our ability to orient ourselves chronologically, because that neat divide between work time and leisure time we used to rely on has completely vanished. Our labor is nearly completely removed from the physical realm, replaced by always-on cognitive labor, making existence blended together in this lurching temporal blob of burnout, loneliness, and desensitization that robs us of chronological grounding. That's why it's fucking June already. What the fuck is going on? And if we have no grounding as to the present, how on earth are we supposed to imagine something beyond it? This crushing cognitive weight of always doing empty, hollow mental labor breaks your soul, suspending you in time and making you exhausted to envision a better world. Like Marathon. Get fucking owned. You thought this was just gonna be about a video game, but now you're learning socio-political theory, dumbass. That is why live service battle pass corporate slave fantasy video game was made. It's why so many people are not realizing the entire essence around this game and our dystopian fetishizing culture is bad. That is why the halo on the opening title card of this fucking gameplay trailer is still doing so much heavy lifting for this game, trying to trick you into thinking the Bungie of 30 years past was still alive, preying on your desire for the Bungie that made Halo 2, that made Marathon to still be alive. And to be fair, part of it is, it just has a really big car collection right now. God, they made reading cool like 30 years ago, and now they're making gameplay suck ass. Like, what the fuck is going on here? Oh, with all that said, now that we know that communication is where literally all of the value is in a system like this, I think you can put 2 and 2 together why Bungie trying to control communication by removing prox chat is bad. But if you can't, I'm gonna explain it anyways. Why no prox chat, Bungie? As a massive Bungie hater who doesn't have any faith in them at all because of their disastrous leadership, even I didn't think that they'd make a decision so incredibly stupid as to not have proximity chat in their extraction shooter. Like, the extraction shooter genre is inherently interesting because it's one of the few PvP games that actually can blur the line between opponent and ally, because the goal isn't to kill people to get points, it's to get your shit and fucking leave. Unlike every single other PvP game where you're just tossed into a murder box and, expected to kill everybody, you're actually given a choice in this genre. You can choose whether you want to be a fighter, or a lover, or a goblin. Subscribe if you're a fighter, or a lover, or a goblin, or you just want to subscribe. Please subscribe, I'm so lonely. Violence and competition are not inherently mandatory in this space. They are a choice that you actually need to consider, and Bungie removing that choice forces you to abandon what nuanced humanity you might have left. Did you notice how in the cinematic trailer by the genius Alberto Miergo that Bungie absolutely did not deserve, Monochrome Adam Jensen and Techno Goth GF never talked to each other once? The more I thought about this, the more it bothered me. After Adam's comrade gets domed by Goth GF's team and then he scurries after her to get his beats back, he never calls out, ever. They literally run into each other. They stand there awkwardly until she blasts his ass back, and there is no communication besides exchanged panicked looks. We know communication is possible here. We see speaking to the robot voice in the box. We see Adam talking to his teammate, but we don't see it between the enemies. Why is this, you ask? Because, just like in the actual game, there is no prox chat. This isn't a meme, I'm serious. And if there are any fucking lore nerds about to do some really annoying shit, like trying to disprove everything that I'm saying, fuck you. This is my video, and Mom says it's my turn to make wildly insane claims about lore and in-universe mechanics, okay? Shut the fuck up. If this whole ordeal is really about scavenging materials for the corporate overlords, why wouldn't they just send everyone down together in one big happy family, working together and singing a merry song? Why do they keep everybody segmented to kill each other? Why would they keep lying to them? I can't emphasize this enough. Theoretically, it would be way more efficient to just have everybody working together, right? I mean, yes, like, obviously, if it was actually about the garbage, but it's not about the garbage. It's about them. It's about their minds, their attention, your mind, your attention. Flesh gone, brain dumped into a cybernetic shell, constantly connected to a barrage of light and noise, memory deteriorating slow enough for you to be unaware, but you're too phased to give it any real thought, because your focus is entirely on surviving day to day in the endless present, molded by unregulated and all-powerful corporations to even consider the idea of a future. Does this sound familiar? Speaking and communicating in nuanced, abstract ways, like making a non-violent plea for your music back or organizing a mass labor uprising, are directly counter to the breakneck speed needed for information that is required to keep the system functional. This is the ultimate final step in the semio-capitalist machine, which is not to passively, but actively remove the means of generating nuance. No talk, only blast. When this happens, human relation becomes stripped naked to its most rudimentary form. Simple self-preservation. Competition is the fuel of this machine, because we are too busy fighting ourselves in boring cyberpunk Apex Legends. How on earth are we supposed to fight the orchestrators of our fate? Bungie is trying to pull the same sneaky little trick. If we only have the option to fight each other in this boring arena that they've created, then the lame dog shit contracts and items can be as half-baked as they fucking want. Because now that violence is seen as a mandatory, integral part of the game, not as an option that has to fit cohesively within everything else. It is the main thing. Everything else is just counter to it. It doesn't matter that you have to get your shit and leave. You have to not die to leave, and you can't do that if someone else is trying to kill you. And since you can't talk to them, you gotta shoot back. Your brain is constantly in survival mode. It's basically like you're in a pure PvP game all the time, because you don't have to think about everything else and how you might take different situations, because violence is literally the only way you can solve all of them. Life becomes a simple matter of, I need to do this to not die. I need to kill other people to keep me from not dying. There is no time for any of us to stop and think and be like, hey, wait a minute, this shit fucking sucks. This is because competition is inevitable and encouraged in the baseline capitalist system, something free market. But in semio-capitalism, where emotional manipulation is a feature and not a bug, it goes into fucking overdrive, baby. Why do you think everything is like rage bait now, you know? This dramatized version of us versus them is plaguing the entire content sphere with these low IQ morons, not realizing that if we actually worked together against the actual problem, we could get ourselves out of this situation. But no, it's always gay people, or black people, or sweet baby rays, or game developers, or what the fuck ever. God forbid we have any kind of class consciousness. This shit, all of this shit gets pushed out at light speed, distorting your big little brain that will then put in more garbage into the system ad infinitum until we are in a sexy tin can inside a bigger, less sexy tin can, looking at a picture of a child we are told is us, but we do not care enough to even ponder if that is true, because it literally doesn't make a difference one way or another to the fact that we are just trying to survive. This apathetic, exhaustive brain rot is the ideal state for us to exist in, because it is the most profitable, both in in-universe marathon and out-of-universe marathon. When we can't be like, hey, wait a minute, why are we in an endless cycle of violence and debt? Why do we do these tasks that fucking suck? Why are we endlessly taking on debt to just go and scavenge and inevitably gather less than we owe due to the unimaginable cost of our cybernetic bodies? Isn't the idea of debt supposed to be a bet on ourselves, an investment in a future that we see, that we want to build with the intention to repay and preserve relationships? When the value of debt becomes so high, when it is endlessly passed off, and it becomes purely virtual and aesthetic and loses the meaning it was founded on, do we lose the meaning behind the terrestrial relationships that allow society itself to function? Something, United States, $30 freaking trillion of debt. Look at all the student loans. Look at Klarna going bankrupt. Look at how much debt everybody is in. Look at how real this is. Look at how real this is. Oh, fucking come on, you fucking piece of shit. Oh. I'm out of light. I'm out of fucking wine. Oh, I spent two fucking weeks rewriting the fucking ending for this fucking video. Still not right. Still not right. So fuck it. I'll just fucking freeball it. Now while fuck it. I'll just freeball it while we're recording. And I still have no idea how to top all of this with a neat little stupid optimistic bow, because the only fucking thing I've been thinking about this entire fucking time is how I lost my cats a year ago. And the future, the future that they represented haunts me every day of my life. And I really wish it fucking didn't. God, it's so fucking stupid. Every time I do laundry, I just sit there in front of the machine like a moron, looking in between the wall and the machine, because one of their toys is still back there. And I can't bring myself to get rid of it, because somehow the persistent visage of a lost future is more comforting than a completely blank slate. I'm a creature of habit, of consistency. I am good at putting my head down and just working on something, anything. I'm not good with change and the unknown and people. I'm so tired. I'm sick of talking to somebody and then we just forget about each other in 2 weeks. I'm sick of constantly wanting to make fucking art and feeling like I'm always making some stupid fucking product instead. I'm not good at any of this. I don't know what a different idea of the future is. I don't know how to get there. But I'm also not good at just sitting around twiddling my thumbs. So I guess I've got something new to work on, I guess. At the end of After the Future, Bifo puts forth some tenets for a post-futurist vision that I think we all need. We sing of the danger of love, the daily creation of a sweet energy that is never dispersed. The essential elements of our poetry will be irony, tenderness, and rebellion. We sing of the men and the women who caress one another to know another and the world better. We demand that art turn into a life-changing force. We seek to abolish the separation between poetry and mass communication, to reclaim the power of media from the merchants and return it to the poets and the sages. We sing to the infinity of the present and abandon the illusion of a future. But seriously, no prox chat?